The ancient Egyptians are known for their incredible achievements in art, architecture, and science. They left behind a legacy that continues to fascinate us today. However, one aspect of Egyptian culture that often baffles modern audiences is their religious beliefs. The ancient Egyptians worshipped a pantheon of gods that numbered in the hundreds, if not thousands. And this raises a question that has puzzled scholars for centuries. Why did the ancient Egyptians worship so many gods? To answer this question, we must delve deep into the heart of ancient Egyptian society and explore the reasons behind their polytheistic beliefs. Before we dive in, be sure to hit that like button for more videos on mythology. One of the primary reasons for the proliferation of gods in ancient Egypt was the natural environment. The Nile River, with its annual floods, provided a stable and fertile landscape that supported a large and prosperous population. This abundance led to the development of a complex society with various social classes and occupations. As a result, the ancient Egyptians created specialized gods for different aspects of their lives, such as the sky and underworld. For example, Ra, the sun god, was revered as the supreme deity, while Osiris was the god of the underworld and Isis was the goddess of magic and healing. Each god had his or her own distinct personality, powers, and domain, and they were all interconnected in a complex web of relationships. Another reason for the Egyptians' belief in a multitude of gods was their animistic worldview. The ancient Egyptians believed that the natural world was full of spirits and that everything had a soul. They saw gods in the forces of nature, such as the sun, moon, and stars. And they also believed that inanimate objects, such as trees and rocks, could house spirits. This belief led to the worship of local deities and the creation of shrines and temples throughout the land. In fact, every city or region in ancient Egypt had its own patron deity, and these gods were often identified with local geographical features. For example, the city of Thebes was dedicated to the goddess Hathor, who was associated with the nearby sycamore trees, while the city of Abydos was home to a cult of Osiris, the god of the underworld. In addition to their animistic beliefs, the ancient Egyptians also had a strong belief in magic and the supernatural. They believed that the pharaohs had divine powers and that they were responsible for maintaining the balance between the gods and the people. Pharaohs were seen as intermediaries between the gods and mortals, and they were expected to perform rituals and make offerings to keep the gods happy. This belief in magic and the supernatural led to the development of a sophisticated system of religious beliefs and practices. The ancient Egyptians kept detailed records of their religious rituals, and they employed a group of priests to perform these ceremonies on their behalf. Priests were highly respected members of society, and they played a vital role in maintaining their religious and social order. However, despite the complexity of their religious system, the ancient Egyptians were not immune to change. As the empire grew and changed, so too did their religious beliefs. New gods were added to the pantheon, and existing gods were given new roles and responsibilities. For example, during the New Kingdom, the god Amen was merged with the sun god Ra to create a new deity, Amen-Ra, who was seen as the supreme ruler of the cosmos. This syncretism of gods was a common feature of Egyptian religion, and it allowed the Egyptians to adapt their beliefs to the changing circumstances of their empire. It's important to note that the ancient Egyptians weren't the only civilization to have multiple gods. Polytheism was a common feature of ancient religions, and many cultures had complex systems of beliefs and practices that involved multiple deities. However, the Egyptian religion was unique in many ways, and it is important to study it on its own terms to understand why they had so many gods. As we've already discussed, the natural environment played a significant role in shaping Egyptian religious beliefs. The Nile River and its annual floods provided a stable food supply and allowed for the development of a complex society. This, in turn, led to the creation of specialized gods for different aspects of life, as well as a belief in the souls of inanimate objects. Additionally, the Egyptian belief in magic and the supernatural led to the development of a sophisticated system of religious beliefs and practices. Pharaohs were seen as divine intermediaries between the gods and the people, and they were responsible for performing rituals to maintain the balance between the two. While the ancient Egyptians believed that everything had a soul, they also believed that some people had special connections to the gods. These individuals were known as the Osi, and they were considered to be the closest to the divine. The Osi were typically priests or other religious figures, but they could also be members of the royal family or anyone who had a strong connection to the gods. It's as important to note that the ancient Egyptians didn't have a single book that outlined their religious beliefs. Instead, their religious texts were scattered throughout the land in various temples and shrines. These texts included hymns, prayers, spells, and rituals that were used by priests and the general public to interact with the gods. One of the most famous examples of an Egyptian religious text is the Book of the Dead, which was a collection of spells and rituals that were designed to help the dead person navigate the underworld. Despite the lack of a centralized religious authority, the Egyptian religion was remarkably cohesive. This was due in part to the efforts of the priests who worked hard to maintain the religious and social order. They were responsible for teaching the population about the gods and goddesses, as well as performing the necessary rituals to keep them happy. The priests also played a vital role in the religious festivals that were held throughout the year. These festivals were a time for the people to come together and celebrate the gods in a variety of ways, such as through music, dance, and processions. It should be noted that the ancient Egyptians were not the only ones who interacted with the priests. Foreigners who visited Egypt were also expected to participate in religious activities, such as making offerings to the gods and attending festivals. This was seen as a way of showing respect for the Egyptian culture and religion. The ancient Egyptians were tolerant of other religions, and they generally allowed foreigners to worship their own gods as long as they followed certain guidelines. However, there were instances where the Egyptians tried to convert foreigners to their own religion, such as when Amenhotep IV changed his name to Akhenaton and tried to impose monotheism on the Egyptian people. During the period of Akhenaton's rule, there was a shift in religious beliefs that marked a departure from traditional Egyptian polytheism. Akhenaton's obsession with the sun god, Aten, and his attempts to impose monotheism on the populace were a radical departure from the traditional Egyptian religion that had been polytheistic for centuries. Despite this, after Akhenaten's death. Traditional polytheistic beliefs were restored under his successor, indicating the resilience of Egyptian cultural norms. Ancient Egyptian religion played a vital role in shaping their society, art, architecture, and daily life. The emphasis on maintaining the balance between the gods and the people led to the development of a complex system of beliefs and practices. While the Egyptians worshipped numerous gods and goddesses, they also had a deep respect for other religions and were generally tolerant of other belief systems. Alright guys, that's all for today. Let me know what you think about ancient Egyptian religion in the comment section below. Why do you think they had so many gods? Did you find anything surprising about their beliefs and practices? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, don't forget to hit that like button for more videos on mythology. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.